All right, welcome to the week 6 of Tech Academy. Um, so we are almost there. 2 more weeks, and you guys will be graduating. So, what's the topic of the day? Topic of the day is Agile and Scrum. So, what is Agile? Agile is a methodology and is an approach to software development and project management. It prioritizes flexibility, collaboration, and customer satisfaction. Agile helps team adapt to changing requirements and deliver valuable solutions. An Agile manifesto. So, Agile manifesto is individuals and interactions over the process and tools. It emphasizes more over interaction between the people, how they communicate, and how they collaborate, and having a more open communication. Um, it focuses more towards working software over comprehensive documentation. Because the more time you spend over documentation, it's worthwhile to test out several things and see if your hypotheses are even correct, and if you're going or solving a real world problem, or it is a problem that you're just solving it for yourself, or if the problem is even a problem. Customer collaboration over contract negotiations. So to understand about that, you need to know how the waterfall model used to work. In waterfall model, everything was planned in the very initial phase. The documentation and everything was done in the planning phase, and then the customer would get the final product. But what used to happen with that is the customer didn't like the final product that they got, and there were so many revisions that they had to do. And then the customer would say, "Hey, this is not what we talked about," and then contractor would say, "No, this is what you said. This is what our interpretation was looking like." And then there is a lot of back and forth that would happen between that. So there was a lot of negotiations that used to happen. But with this agile methodology, it allows you to have more customer collaboration, rather than fighting over, so this is what you said, this is what we meant, this is what we understood, and this was our interpretation. Responding to change over following a plan. So, um, Agile is more of, okay, let's adapt to what feedback that we got from our users, our stakeholders, and let's adapt to that change rather than sticking to. We initially discussed that we're going to create a feature X, Y, and Z. It's going to work in the following fashion. Rather than that, we're going to say, okay, we developed a prototype, we tested it out, it worked out better, let's move on to the next phase. Or it didn't work out better, so let's re-engineer that, let's make it a smoother process for our users. So that is where we are making small incremental changes and getting more feedback, and then we are creating an environment where the changes are welcomed, rather than saying, okay, that's the good idea fairy all the time. So there are 12 agile principles. Customer satisfaction through early and continuous delivery. So agile allows you to give out more smaller changes in an incremental manner and getting the customer satisfaction tested, rather than saying, okay, here is the big elephant, now you gotta eat it. We're gonna eat the small elephant one bite at a time, and it makes it easier. As we discussed, it welcomes the changes. Frequent delivery of a working software. So we want to make small changes to the software and make sure it's working fine as per the user's expectation. Collaboration between the business stakeholders and developers, where it feels like, okay, whatever the stakeholders wanted was delivered by developers, so the developers also feel like they are working towards a solution that is helping people, rather than the feedback loop is a year or two behind, and then there are a lot of complaints that they are always getting, rather than the uh, positive feedbacks that they are getting. The agile methodologies are supportive and motivated, and it motivates individuals, saying, "Okay, let's. You made this change; it worked out better. Let's go ahead and implement that at other places on the application." So you have more of an initiatives and creativity that comes out of this. Face-to-face communication is the most effective. I believe in this, where if you're sitting with a person or having a sit down, it it allows you to have more communication with your team members, with the individuals, and it is good in terms of meeting online. Yes, we do it most of the time, but having that personal touch is something very important to me, and I believe it brings out the great creativity out of people. Working software as a primary means of a progress, because no matter how much documentation you do, how much features, enhancements, and things you talk about, but unless you have a working software for which you're implementing agile methodology, then it doesn't make sense of having that whole documentation process unless you're going to do what you said you want. Maintaining a suitable pace of work. So we don't want to have it where there is a burst and then the productivity goes away completely. We want to have a constant progress. So um, let's 1% rule, where okay, you are improvising 1% every day. At the end of the year, you're going to be 365% better than where you started with. So making that small incremental changes is going to have a much better results at the end. Continuous attention to the technical excellence and good design, because you're making small changes, it allows your team to work on any technical depths and things that needs to be fixed or improvised on. The simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. So this is where our internal philosophy of good idea fairies that comes and messes things up. So you want to make sure that you're not working on all the things that are reported. You're working on the most important things and most valuable things that are reported to you, because you're going to have this great idea, but it's not going to be used by more percentage of users, or only one user to be worst, then it's not really helpful. Uh, this agile methodology allows teams to self-organize themselves, and then the most important one is regular reflection and adaptability of for process improvement. So as you're having this feedbacks, you're reviewing your processes, you are trying to make sure you stay on top of things and you make better changes that are beneficial for your users, for your product, for your business, for your organization. So what are the agile frameworks? There is a Scrum, which is one of the most popular one that is used, but it's not the only one. There is Kanban, there is extreme programming, lean software development, feature-driven software development, dynamic system development methods, Crystal, discipline, agile. So there are several different ones out there, but today's topic we're going to discuss about Scrum. So what is a Scrum? So just to go back to what is agile, agile is a philosophy. Now the Scrum is a framework itself. It emphasizes iterative development and incremental delivery, designed for adaptability. Scrum allows teams to respond to changes quickly, um, and that is very effective. Um, so let's see what are the Scrum roles. A Scrum will there and a person could be having multiple heads depending on their company size and the complexity of the products that you're working on. You'll have a product manager, Scrum master, development team will have software developers, and the QA person. So, in a scenario where you will have a product manager acting as a scrum master, or you'll have a software developer lead who's working as a scrum master with a product manager, and we're going to discuss about what are these scrum artifacts, and this will help us to understand where, which, and who's responsible for each of those things. So Scrum artifacts are product backlog, sprint backlog, and increments. A product backlog is a prioritized list of all desired work on the project. So let's say you have 100 features that you want to implement. You would need to prioritize those. So a product manager would prioritize those and make it available for the development team. A sprint backlog is a subset of the items that the product backlog from a product backlog, and it is where those are the particular tasks that your development team is going to be working towards. So a sprint backlog is owned by development team. And then increments is the sum of all the completed product backlogs items in a sprint. So let's say you selected 5 items from to be completed in a sprint, but there could be an item or feature that is much bigger to develop, so it might take 2 sprints to complete. So you always want to have it where, okay, we started with 5 tasks, but 4 were completed, so we want to ship those 4 features out. And then increments are at the end of the sprint, you're going to have a potentially shippable product depending on where are you with your initial product release. So, what are the Scrum events? The Scrum events are planning, daily stand up meetings, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. So, what is sprint planning? A sprint planning is at the start of each sprint, the team comes together and discusses about what are the things that needs to be completed. Product managers will bring out saying, hey, these are the features that needs to be done, implemented, and such and so forth. And then team is going to say discuss about, okay, how they would like to proceed with the priorities and backlogs that they have. They try to understand the features that are we planning to implement, and then estimate on how much each feature development is going to take. Once you have estimated, you will see, compare it against the resources that you have. You'll define the sprint size, tasks that you will complete in the sprint. Then you have an active sprint. In an active sprint, you will have a daily stand-up call saying, okay, what was accomplished, what's in pipeline for tomorrow, or today, and then any issues that you have. We don't want to have a scenario where a developer is struggling and they are not very, or they're new to the team and they don't want to open up and talk about things. If there is a problem that they are facing, we want them to bring us or bring it to the team so a team can address that. And if it is a big problem, then we want to know upfront, and we can say, okay, this feature is going to take more, or it should, or if it is a technically doable or not. At, at the time it is made it to the sprint, it is more likely it could be doable, but we just need to make sure that our team has adequate resources to complete that particular task that they are working on. It might be a technical challenge that they are working on. They didn't know about the technology stack that they are dealing with. So just pulling in another resource to help them out is always going to be helpful. So having the daily checkup with them is a great thing. Then there is a sprint review that happens at the end of your sprint. So that allows you to review what all was done, what was decided, what all was completed, and then discuss those things out, have a demo of things that were completed. Once that is done, the sprint review meeting can come into retrospective. Okay, did we learn? How can we improve? And let's see the plan for the next sprint. So it always allows you to reflect your things that you're doing. Let's improvise and make sure that we are always improving and giving better things and better qualities to our clients and customers and users, and making the world a better place to live in. So Scrum team in action. Let's go through an entire example over here. So here is the hypothesis. You are working on a software development project. There's a Scrum team. You have a product owner, Scrum master, developer, development team, collaboration in sprints. The sprint duration is for 2 weeks. So sprint planning. At the start of the sprint, the team conducts a planning. As we discussed, the product owner would represent, hey, here are the priorities of the task that we need to work on. Here are the 10 things. The first one is the high priority. It is given a complaint from the user saying, hey, we need this, and it needs to be accomplished. After that, the development team selects the item from the for the sprint backlog, committing to complete them within the sprint. It is not necessary that it would be completed depending on the complexity of the task, but the goal of the development team is to complete those particular tasks in the sprint that they selected. The completion of the task, depending on your organization goal, would be, is it the development completed or is it the QA completed? For me, it is the QA should also be done when we are talking about the completion of the task, because non-tested items cannot be released to the user in the production environment. Backlog refinement. Throughout the sprint, team constantly refines the product backlog. This is more of a product owner, product manager working on things. The product owner and the team add details, adjust the priority, and remove or add items as needed. And this ensures that we have a backlog prepared for the future sprint. So, team is working on a 2 week sprint. At the end of the sprint, when we are having a meeting, we want to make sure we have enough tasks prepared for them. So we gotta keep feeding them and have enough things available for them. Then sprint review. At the end of the sprint, the team conducts a sprint review. The development team showcases the completed work to stakeholders. Feedback is gathered, and the increment is demonstrated to the stakeholders. So that is everything on Scrum. If you have any questions, concerns, or any comments, please feel free to add to the comment section, and I will be happy to answer your questions.